the real life applications are a bit more complex. There are versions of these same apps designed specifically for set-top boxes, for smart TVs, for streaming media players, and even mobile or tablet apps can be used mainly as a casting tool to enjoy streamed content on larger screens. What is clear is that people are taking advantage of the great diversity of OTT platforms, devices, and connectivity technologies to create their own viewing setups in each family. And even, I would say, within each family. TV watching has become a more personalized experience than ever before. That means that the people who make television, from the creators to the producers, to the distributors and the streaming platforms, they all have to be ready to cater to those audiences whenever and however they choose to watch their content. To examine these challenges, and we all know with the challenges come the opportunities, we're going to be talking with 5 industry executives with several years of experience and representing all sides of the story. So let's introduce them. Guillermo Franco is Director General of Multimedios Televisión. Guillermo is based out of Monterrey. Luciano Pascoe is the Director General of ADN 40. ADN 40 is TV Azteca's news TV channel. He's based in Mexico City. From Los Gatos, California, Alex D'Alessio is the Director of Latin America Sales at Roku. Also from California, but in San Diego, Mike Nijat is VP of Engineering from the Home Entertainment and Sound Division at Sony Electronics. And Ajay Anand, our European representative in this panel, is the CEO of Norwegian Media, and Ajay is joining us from Oslo in Norway. Welcome, everybody. Guillermo, we'll start with you. Canal 6, it's a very good example of a free-to-air station that has been broadcasting for several decades, but during the past few years, its over-the-air transmissions have become only one in a growing repertoire of distribution channels that today include social media platforms, your own website, smartphone apps, smart TV apps, a Roku channel. How important is for a broadcaster to build a multi-platform strategy such as this one?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the space and for sharing our experiencing this fascinating world of the television. Multimedia television, now called Channel 6, has been broadcasting for over 53 years. And since 2001, about 20 years ago, we started doing streamings with a very primitive way, but with an old PC, and then we start doing streamings because most of our content, what we do in the 14 markets where we do operate, is that we generate local news. And there's local people living abroad everywhere. So people from Monterrey want to watch to their local TV stations, even that they are thousands of kilometers away. So that's why we started in this fascinating of the streaming world. Now, 20 years later, we have 10 linear streams from different cities, also for Millennium Television. And with this 10 linear broadcasts, we have our own OTT application that is an advertise. It's free. It's an ABOT. It's an advertising video on demand. In this case, it's linear. And we have our OTT in multiple platforms like Roku, Samsung Television. You can download it for an Apple TV, for Amazon Fire Stick, for an Android box. So you can have access to our app everywhere. This is very important for us because we see streaming as the continuity of our business. Over the air, well, in a long-term future, we don't see it there. At least we don't see it as currently is. So in order to transitate to the next generation of streaming only linear television, we must be in this world, and we must be in a way that is very easy for all the consumers to have access to our contents. Something that is very important to achieve this is to own your content. We produce about 120 hours daily of content. Every day, 130 hours that we produce in 14 cities. And we own all of our content. So we have the rights, so we can have in any platform worldwide without any problem. That's, I think, is one of our main advantages, that owning all of our contents allow us to be everywhere with our content. And also, out of these 130 hours, most of them are of news, but of local news that matters to someone anywhere or in any place. So that's why this makes relevant for the audience to have access on these platforms to their local content, even though they are thousands of kilometers away. And then, as part of your questions, we have a team that is dedicated to do a clipping. 130 hours, it's a lot. So we have a team of experts in the digital team doing clipping, a lot of clipping. So we can post it in all social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. So the way that we operate our social platforms, it's also local. By example, or let's say Telera Twitter, we have Telera Twitter for Mexico City, Telera Twitter for Monterrey, and we have the clipping on each of these social media accounts. So we do all the clipping. So with this, with the linear television, with the streaming app, and with all the clipping social media, we have a wraparound of all of the content that we produce.
Yeah. Very comprehensive. Luciano, what happens with news TV networks such as ADN 40, ADN 40? Are audiences, especially younger generations, also demanding a variety of platforms and devices as part of information consumption habits?
Absolutely. I think what Guillermo was saying is absolutely on the dot. We have all realized that we are in ADN 40 is a network that was originally designed to be over-the-air broadcasting mainly. But as society is moving into different other platforms, not necessarily abandoning TV, but using several platforms, and you probably know this, it's even more common to be watching TV with your handheld device, active, and be interacting with it, and sometimes interactive with the TV, with what's happening on screen. What we have basically realized is that the first thing is news are on high demand on this time of our society. It's a moment where not only the pandemic circumstances, but all over the world, all over our region, we can see that there's a lot of debates, public agendas, and there's the constant need to have new references for all of society, not exclusively the ones that are consuming on one platform or the other. So what we basically realized is that we have to change our mindset from being broadcasters on one platform to be able to distribute our content, our news, through a wide array of platforms. And that has basically brought to our attention the need to develop new strategies, basically, I would say, in two great areas. The first one is to ensure that the experience and the capacity of engagement is not subpar, so that it doesn't matter if you're watching me over the air or through pay TV or through the Apple TV device, or if you're watching me through Roku, or if you're watching me through Amazon Prime, that the experience is always a 4K stable and with low latency circumstance. And that requires the development of different feeds. So the first thing that we realized is that we needed to not only take what we're sort of broadcasting over the air and throw it into the platforms, but to actually develop new streaming for those platforms. And the basic issue for that is not only to maintain the quality, but also to be able to monetize differently. Because if you're only living off one type of profit, but you're having to distribute in absolutely every platform, then evidently you're losing money because they're different publics and they're different targets. So what we've realized is that we're developing different streams where we can actually monetize differently for each one of these platforms. So basically what I would say is that we have realized that in order to be truly democratic in distributing our signals and our news, our content, we definitely need to develop the capacity to have different streams and in absolutely every platform. And that goes not only to what platform is this or that, but also the social media and of course websites, etc. No? So that's pretty much what we've realized. What we've learned is that we need to develop that. It's expensive, it's difficult, but it's definitely worth it in the long term.
Alex, we're talking about multiple distribution options through smart TVs and connected devices, and really since its launch in Mexico in 2015, Roku has established itself as a key connected TV platform that really no streaming service seriously looking to cater to Mexican audiences in a truly multi-platform fashion can afford to ignore, I would say. Is that how you're seeing Roku? Is it a new breed of content integrator and distributor?
Yeah, so streaming is the core of what we do, right? It's our entire business. And our focus on this category has really enabled us to become one of the leaders in this space, right? Now, when we look what we're doing, while the players is a very important part of the business, we also have the license agreements we're doing with the TV manufacturers, right? Where they're using our OS, our platform on their smart TV solutions, right? So we're really excited with the ecosystem we have created. And with that, the proposition of value we bring to our partners, right? As an independent platform, we welcome all content publishers. And we'll work with which one of them in order to really maximize distribution and audience within our user base. But also we're excited with the benefit we bring to the consumers, where they have a very strong portfolio of content, right? From major streaming service like Netflix, Prime Video, HBO, Disney Plus, to also very local important streaming, like in Mexico with Blim TV, TV Azteca, among others, right? So it's the entire ecosystem. We're pretty excited with what we did there.
Mike, in this context, would you say that TV manufacturers are evolving to become more service providers than hardware vendors? Are we seeing a trend in that direction?
First of all, Juan Pablo, thank you very much for having me on this panel. And regarding being a hardware or TV manufacturer, making better pictures and sounds always involves hardware, whether that includes more advanced video or audio codec, new protocol stack, and etc. Feature of interest to our customer will have to adapt to current technology that usually involve faster processing. Faster processing usually means a new hardware. Of course, TV manufacturer via the hardware will provide higher quality third-party services, as was mentioned by other members of this panel. But please understand that due to COVID-19, the people's lives have changed, the way they work, the way they travel, the way they get together. If you look at it, I'm not sure about other countries, but in the United States, the number of TVs sold has increased tremendously. The size has increased tremendously. So people want hardware. Now, in the past, they wanted to maybe watch it as a family, different places, but now they want to watch together, even with a larger screen. I think that's the experience, and I think the hardware will play a very major role in coming years.
Yes, and in fact, we're having a crisis in terms of there's so much demand for hardware around the world that not enough is being produced. So I couldn't agree more with that assessment. Ajay, Norwegian Media, a Norwegian company that has specialized in TV app development for practically all types of connected devices and operating systems used by smart TVs, set-top boxes, gaming consoles, streaming media players. I think that just naming the type of connected devices that exist and people use today makes it clear that we're talking about a very fragmented market. This is not making life easy for the broadcasters and the content owners and the OTT service providers that want to maximize their distribution footprint, right?
Yeah, it's not. Thank you, first of all, Juan Pablo and Data Access for organizing Nextv Mexico. And as fragmented as the industry is, I think, first of all, hello to all of the other panelists and the people watching. It's a very fragmented list of people working in different parts of the industry in itself, which in itself tells us what all we need to put together. I think it does make the industry challenged in terms of how many devices there are and how to cater to all of these consumers via these devices and social media and other channels. But I guess those challenges gives me a job. I think somebody needs to find the technology and use that attitude to bring out these services to consumers. Just listening to all of the panelists, when Guillermo was talking about a lot of content that needs to be cut and produced, when Luciano is talking about monetizing this across different channels, when Alex is talking about software as well as their niche devices spreading across multiple devices, and Mike is talking about a lot of hardware which is only increasing and they're becoming costlier, and shipping is not becoming easier. As much as many people are buying a lot of TVs, if I go out in Norway, the sales of TVs have become the most precious things in the world, simply because the shipping, all of the shipping is not working as it should be. All of this makes the entire value chain so difficult. But I guess that's where I would say that leave the services, leave the monetizing, leave the consumer user experience and the presentation of content to the service providers, leave the device manufacturers to understand what software is and how the connectivity works to get inside the consumer's home, and leave the technology of delivering that content via these pipes to technologist companies like ourselves. Here at Norwegian, what we do is we try to please the consumer, but it's a service provider's service at the end of the day. But we need to listen to the device manufacturer's native strength of the OS in itself. Sony uses Google, Roku is quite independent, but we need to respect the core of these devices. But somebody needs to put together all of these things and mediate all of these companies, and I guess that's our role. And I think a fragmented role is good, which means that the consumer market is strong, and that somebody needs to play some in a good mediation level in there.
Guillermo, you mentioned, as Ajay was saying, a lot of content and a lot of platforms where you're distributing this content. It would be interesting to understand if you have access to metrics that allow you to evaluate the evolution of your audience in the different digital platforms where Channel 6 is distributed. And also, what evaluation are you making from those numbers at the moment?
Yes, we do. That's the beautiful about digital. Everything is measured. We have been growing numbers, especially during the months of the 2020, March and so on, where people got locked in their homes. We saw a very spike in the number of the streamings we have. We are still trying to understand what these numbers means, because coming from traditional old-fashioned linear over-the-air television and have been using Nielsen ratings for several years, which the overnight sales who saw the previous day. Now we have this number from digital, which all are in millions. So maybe it's a lot, maybe not. We're still trying to figure that out, but we're pretty sure that is relevant. And for mature, that's a lot. By example, for the month of September, in our OTT across all devices, not including YouTube, because that's a different measurement. We have almost 5 million visitors and almost 300 minutes of consumed video. And in YouTube, we have like almost 25 million visitors and almost 700 millions of minutes consumed, whatever this means. So these numbers are high as crazy. And we're still trying to figure out how this fits in the traditional advertising work and in the programmatic advertising work in order to see how we can monetize all this viewership.
There's clearly, and of course, the understanding of those numbers, someone will have to make sense of that. But I was looking, Alex, at Roku's list of channels in Mexico, and for some reason, Canal 6 is one of the first channels that at least you promote from your presence in Mexico. So clearly there's something there indicating at least a demand for that content. I want to go to Luciano. Luciano, ADM40 is part of Grupo Salinas, which also owns Total Play, one of Mexico's most technologically innovative pay TV operators. I'm wondering, are there any synergies between the advanced set-top boxes that Total Play deploys amongst its customer base and the possibilities for ADM40 as a news TV network? Are you exploring synergies?
Oh, absolutely. We have, well, as this keeps on developing, and as all of you were saying, we're still trying to figure out how everything sort of meets and greets each other. One of the things that we've realized is that we don't fully understand the capacities of a cable, of a fiber optic straight to the house, because we are still seeing how the equipments actually have been developing to give us the back and forth capacities. So one of the things that we've started trying and that we're going to start doing is to have people actually engage directly by voting, by selecting what kind of information they want to see on at the end of a newscast, because they can actually interact directly with us through the set-top boxes. The other thing that we've realized is that there's a huge amount of capacities in what's called addressable TV, which is our capacity to actually send ads directly to the viewers, knowing that not only they're watching, but what they're watching and where they live. So a company of cars comes to us and says, we want to sell this car to high-end consumers that have a, A, B tier of society, no higher, and we know what neighborhoods those consumers are, and we can actually send either an ad or an interactive capacity through their set-top boxes. So we're doing a lot of research on how we can sort of develop this and turn it into an asset for us, the content producers, providers, and to the consumers, and evidently to the companies that are engaging. But it's a long way to go, but it's certainly a way that we have to walk. And one of the things that I just wanted to wrap up with is evidently the pandemic changed a lot of things. One of the things that it changed is that QR scanning has become way more, well, it's something everybody does, no? 2 years ago, nobody was doing QR scanning. Now everybody's doing QR scanning. And using that on your screen to develop an engagement and a connection, or to direct people into certain contents in another platform that you own or that you use, it has proven to be very dynamic, and is allowing us to really shift things and allow people to go and dig deeper into the information they actually want to see or to consume. And that has proven to be very, very useful and very interesting.
Good point. Good point. It's definitely something that we're seeing more and more. The topic of scan coding it hadn't come up during the discussion, so I'm glad you raised it, because it is something that we're seeing across Latin America. Ajay, across Mexico and Latin America, we have several broadcasters and TV companies that maybe they have already launched a mobile app offering either a combination of linear and or VOD access to their content, and they're currently considering porting those apps onto a smart TV or to maybe an Android-based set-top box. How easy is that, and what challenges do these companies face?
There are a multitude of reasons as to why that will be challenging and why that's simple. First things first, in terms of the market, Mexico and Latin America, put in a simple sentence, is not that simple. Argentina and Uruguay is so different compared to Peru, Bolivia, and Mexico is in a league of its own. It has a conference of its own. So you can imagine that how important Mexico is in the mix of it all, and how different Argentina is in its own sense in the landscape of devices, consumer behavior, the network, and consumer buying capacity and wants, right? When you think about the market, you think about the network, the connectivity, how well connected people's homes are, how far away they are from the cities, how easy it is to get content on the streamable networks, and how strong those networks are. You're talking about the device fragmentation, because the types of people in these regions are super rich, super poor, which means that, super cheap TVs, super costly TVs, there's a multitude of devices to reach, but they all, watch content. You can't say that, comedy content is not watched by everybody, or news needs to be only watched by one sector of people. And then to deliver services to them is a bit unique in Latin America. If I have to compare this to Scandinavia and Norway, where digital services are always at a high, the people use the most costly devices, the network is, optimal and really, really strong all the time. Content is in English and in local languages, so a lot of people consume international and local content. It's not relevant to a global marketplace, but that's the challenge in Latin America, because you're catering to so many different types of people. But the service providers, the device manufacturers, they're on top of their game. A lot of people have put apps on smart TVs the moment the smart TVs came out. It's not new in Latin America, for sure. A lot of people have done it, and commendably so. I'm not just talking about the big names on this panel today, but I'm talking about, if I go to Chile, there is a small startup company, Rivi, which we're working with, and they have a streaming platform in a couple of countries. There's Theatrics in Mexico, Argentina, who is, these are niche content service providers who are doing really well, and they're on every device that matters to their consumers. So they know how to achieve it, but it also comes to the idea that the culture of Latin America and Mexico is that they catch up really, really quick. Set-top boxes missed that huge milestone that we've seen in Europe. People have jumped to smart TVs, and they will catch up quicker than anyone else, because smart TVs will be the first normal device that they will be buying in a long time, and they will buy different types of those TVs. So I think penetration will only increase when we speak to at least Samsung and LG, who we have spoken to a lot as device manufacturers in Latin America. Their penetration rates are skyrocketing. So it's similar to the rest of the world.
Alex, I think Ajay painted a very comprehensive picture of how companies very quickly try to create apps and try to, in Latin America, be present in as many platforms as possible. I'm wondering, for companies that want to maybe port an existing mobile app into the Roku platform, that must be a common question, I would imagine. Is that something that it's easily doable as well? But what should companies looking to make that step consider?
Yeah, so definitely we work directly with every content provider, right? To make sure their app, or inside Roku as we refer it, their channel follows all the necessary technical and quality specifications, compliance, right, to be in the platform. So based on each content and each partner business model, either if the SVOD, TVOD, or AVOD, then you can adapt the efforts to make sure the app, their channel is successful on our platform. Also keep in mind, like, we have a very strong retail footprint throughout the entire territory in Latin America, right? So there's a lot of exposure as well for those applications to be in front of the consumers at the sales floor. And we also work with a lot of bundles as well that we can do with the device, like you purchase the device and you get XYZ plan for free as a trial. So there's a lot of drive that we do from that level as well. So there's a lot of different opportunities there.
Okay. Mike, you are the representative in this panel of a smart TV vendor, but I also want to take the opportunity that your team in the US has been working on the development of ATSC 3.0, which is the next generation DTT standard that will be also applied in Mexico, and Mexico is currently looking to upgrade its technology to that specification. Will free-to-air broadcasters in Mexico have, would you say, in ATSC 3.0 a tool to better compete in the OTT space?
Oh, that's a very good question. And in order for them to compete, of course, ATSC 3.0 is the broadband and broadcast system. And ATSC 3.0 was written to include OTT services from the start. So in order for traditional broadcaster to compete with OTT, they must move to ATSC 3.0. And ATSC 3.0, even though is new to Latin countries, but for example, originally the form of ATSC 3.0 was started in Korea since 2016. And as of today, 70% of the population in Korea are receiving ATSC 3.0 signal. In the case of United States, right now, there are 45% are able to receive ATSC 3.0 signals. So in the case of Mexico, right now they're investigating the ATSC 3.0 for public TV at this time. And what they're trying to use, they try to use a specific use case, which is a distance learning. And there are a lot of features for ATSC 3.0, and I can discuss it in a later time. But in this case, for Mexico, they want to use it for distant learning. Again, the effect of COVID-19.
Okay, and staying on that topic, beyond broadcasting, what additional potential applications do you see for ATSC 3.0? Are there any specific use cases that you have explored as part of your research in the US? And can you share with us?
Yes, of course. We have done a lot of proof of concept, and there are many use cases that are possible with that internet protocol stack. One is distance learning, because it's a broadcast broadband system. You can go to remote areas of the country and you can have a distance learning. On top of that, you can use it for automotive. In the case of automotive, you cannot use regular ATSC 3.0 because if the car drives more than 15 miles an hour, the signal is not going to get to it. But in this case, even 75 miles an hour or so forth, you can use it for automotive. You can use it for emergency. For example, police can use it while they can receive the signal, or you can use it for digital signage. Right now, all the digital signage using Wi-Fi, you can use the real-time signal, sorry, non-real-time signal to send the information to any kind of a display that you want as a digital system. Of course, one of the features of the ATSC 3.0 is kind of the video can be 4K, or you can have audio AC4 or DRM and many other security systems that in the regular traditional broadcasting does not exist.
Okay, that's clear. Guillermo and Luciano, what expectations do you have regarding new advertising revenue opportunities derived from the integration of your content with existing or maybe future connected devices? I think you already mentioned some of that, Luciano, in connection with the Total Play set-top boxes. So let's start, Guillermo, first on this.
Well, it will be relevant in the near future. It may become the main source of revenue for us as a content producer. What start to doing some tests and having different commercial breaks in the signal that we deliver by OTT than the one that we deliver by over the air. But the problem that I see is that advertisers look to reach certain KPIs regarding the people they want to reach. But there's an excessive offer of content right now in the digital world that they can fulfill their KPIs with just a very few channels. And there are so many content producers on the digital world that, I don't know, there's a lot of inventory in the digital world. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the near future in order for us, all of us, trying to sell this inventory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Luciano, what's your view? You already mentioned a very good example, the set-top boxes being one of the key connected devices and the opportunities there. Beyond that, do you see additional advertising opportunities?
Well, the first thing that I would say is that, and I totally agree with Guillermo on this, there's such a large inventory right now, and there's such a small culture about how to engage and what a quality content producer is, that people are just buying clicks and eyeballs everywhere without necessarily choosing why people are actually reflecting on certain platforms or certain content producers. But the fact of the matter is that what we need to do, and I think that's at least our big challenge, is to be able to understand what every platform brings to us in terms of eyeballs, in terms of public, of audience, and therefore how can we traduce that for our clients into an opportunity. It's evident that if you're in TikTok, or if you're in Y, or if you're in Instagram, your consumers, your audience are younger than the ones on Twitter. No? It's evident that the people that are consuming you, or for example, us that we stream in Amazon Prime, it's a completely different audience than the one that is consuming in my website, my streaming news broadcast. So I need to do a lot of data research, data analysis, and from that analysis come back and see how is every one of these platforms building an ecosystem that allows my clients to reach their objectives fast, efficiently, and with quality. And I think that once we start sort of dismantling that riddle, we're going to be able to start doing a lot more money than we are actually doing right now from those platforms.
Okay, Ajay, is the TV app industry moving in a direction where connected device vendors and operators, or in some cases even connected device operating systems, will end up competing with each other to attract the most popular apps? How do you expect this scenario to evolve in Latin America over the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's less of competing with each other and more of overlapping each other and working with each other. I don't think Roku and Sony directly think of each other every day that they're competing with each other. Let's take what you mentioned was connected device vendors. Roku, Sony, Samsung, all of them would be a part of it. Connected TV OSs, Roku would fall into this category as well, along with Android and iOS. And then there's the operators. I don't think the operators care about making devices, even if Sky in the UK has created their own TV and device and OS recently. I think the bottom line is they use such technology to reach their consumers. The device manufacturers, the OSs, provide the relevant technology so that the channels are used to reach those consumers. So the operators, like in Latin America, Telefónica, Telcel, Millicom, these are companies who are investing so heavily onto content, and the kind of sports content that Tigo has bought and trying to monetize on that in different countries is commendable. On like you said, they're on smart TVs for a very long time. They've been delivering content. They have teams in America and different countries in Latin America as well, where they're actually aggregating a lot of costly content and putting this together, and they can't do this without the help of device manufacturers and the OSs and the reach that these devices have. So I think that each of these players work together more than compete with each other. Of course, everybody wants to create an additional business model and increase their productivity within the market space, and that is how a consumer market works. It's you can go to a niche market to buy a specific product, or you can go to a supermarket. The same product is available in both, and some people just present it differently in a niche market, and some people put it with all their competitors on the same rack in a supermarket, but it's still the same deliverable.
Thanks for that. Alex, we have a question coming from the audience, a very interesting question, I would say, very indicative of the way the industry is shaping up. Luis Munoz is the CIO, the Chief Information Officer of Cosmo Cable, a cable company in Mexico, and he's asking you, is Roku open to do business with regional network operators for commercialization of hardware as set-top boxes? In other words, can a cable operator use your Roku boxes as a set-top box? And is it also open to load the operator's apps from factory onto Roku devices? What's your answer to that?
Yeah, no, definitely. This is a very exciting area, right? With the partnership with telcos, we already have been doing this for a while, and we see that trend now really gaining more momentum in LATAM as well. We definitely can customize specific efforts per region, because in our platform, each country has its dedicated channel store, right? So of course, there's an entire process on how it's done and several different agreements on the distribution there, but we have the capability to localize the effort in each separate region.
Okay, thanks for that. We have probably less than 30 seconds. I'll end with a question to Mike, our smart TV representative in this panel. Mike, do you think smart TVs will keep evolving to a point where set-top boxes will become obsolete? Is that possible?
As of now, the distribution of a content is through digital terrestrial TV, cable, satellite, and internet. Of course, each of those options will likely continue into the near future, and each probably has its own separate receiving device. But non-IP content delivery system are losing customer in favor of cutting cords. So I expect the trend to continue, and sometimes in next 5 years or so, the market of STB, satellite or cable boxes will decline markedly. So that's my opinion.
Gentlemen, thank you very much to all of you. It's been a lively and very interesting discussion. So again, thanks a lot. To our audience also, thanks for being engaged, sending questions, and do stay tuned because we have our closing panel for the day, Pay TV towards OTT, the new low-cost model. So thanks everyone, and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.